Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is DB333 and welcome to Hearts of Iron 4, the New Order Last Days of Europe. Now, it's been a while since we've actually sat down, not in front of any streams or anything like that. Just sat down and just had a good old pre-recorded series. And this is what we're doing today. Last time we did that was back all the way in May with the New Order Don't Surf when we played South Africa. We hopped in, made a pact with the ANC, and beat back the fascist and National Socialist Boers and Germans, and kicked them out of the continent once and for all. And that was a bunch of fun, and I'm glad we did that. But, there's other things to do, ladies and gentlemen. There are other spots in the world, especially with the mod out already. It's time to go ahead and hop in and just check stuff out. Because after all, a new order has descended upon the world. With the triumph of the Axis powers from the Second World War, the world has forever been changed. Yesterday's great empires are now dust under the boots of today's victors. A German lands on the moon as Hitler fades. In America, the old system lies shattered. The Mediterranean's power balance lies on a knife's edge. China, little more than a slave to Japan, begins to transform itself. And Russia, long-damned warlords, realize their destiny. Now I'm just going to select Hitler real quick, and we'll just scroll out and just see what's going on in the world around us. The mod's officially out, by the way. I am currently doing a RK Uslan, or I'm uploading an RK Uslan campaign, if you haven't checked that out. It's a lot of fun. I had fun with it, at least. It was my first game I ever did in the New Order, so, yeah. We did that, so you can check that out. Get my really raw first impressions to, like, certain events that kind of shocked me. Stuff like that. But, it's time to hop in to one of the warlords, and I was deciding which one I want to play as. I was thinking Komi at first. I was thinking Vyatka. But I think I've ultimately decided on Tomsk, led by Boris Pasternak, the Conservative Democracy, and the, I believe the Decemberist is what that ends up translating out to. We have a couple bonuses, and I think there'll be an interesting one to play as. West Russia is a bit chaotic. I tried playing as a Vyatka a couple times, and just so much stuff happens that it is hard to keep a track of. Because there are a bunch of warlord states that I believe are able to reunite. There's Samara, the Aryans, Vyatka, Komi, the West Russian Revolutionary Front, and they're all doing stuff non-stop, and so it's hard to really get a grip on. I know most of these nations can unite. This is technically a different region, I think, Tyumen and Sverdlovsk and all that. But Omsk, Kemerovo, the Siberian Black Army. I think, do these guys have a focus tree? I think they do, and if that's the case, then, yeah, they can go ahead and, reunite. But we're playing as Tomsk mainly because of their position. They're not in the middle, like Vyatka is. And I think their, little concept is interesting. So we'll go ahead and start. And while we're still loading in it, I should point out I'm doing a poll right now to determine which major I'm going to be playing as. It should be in the link in the description below if you want to check that out. And vote. And we'll probably start it up the next time I stream. We'll figure out which nation we're doing. And we'll play as that. But yeah, let's go ahead and launch in. Any second now. Come on. This kind of reminds me I should probably get a new CPU because I have a... It was good when I got it. I have a i7 4790, I believe. It was good when I got it, but I could probably use a bit of an upgrade. Especially now when I'm playing like mods because my CPU kind of struggles to keep up. But that's neither here nor there. There we are. The Central Siberian Republic, also known as Tomsk. The fall of the Soviet Union brought untold hardship on the people of Russia, yet in this darkest of hours, the embers of hope could not be crushed by German militarism. In Central Siberia, so recently developed by Bukharin's industrial ambitions, a new democratic Russian state was born, the Central Siberian Republic, led by the poet-president Boris Pasternak. The new nation set out to build itself up as the basis of a new Russian democracy, an heir to the one killed in 1918 by Lenin and his Bolsheviks. This dream was rapidly turned into a nightmare. Landlocked and unable to trade with the rest of the world, the Central Siberian economy struggled to adjust. Separatist sentiment in Provisional, breadbasket of the Republic, brought instability and food riots throughout the nation. Sensing weakness, Genrik Yegorow's far eastern Soviet Socialist republics launched an invasion of the Central Siberian Republic, no doubt lured by the industrial wealth left over from Bukharin's Central Siberian plan. The war was the spark that set off a chain reaction of disasters. Regional military leaders in Novosibirsk seceded, citing the central government's inability to win the war and end the bloodshed. In the east, anarchic rebels succeeded from a failing republic. An attempt to recapture the area by General Krylik led to further defeats after betrayal of Colonel Andreev and the loss of Krasnoyarsk. Broken, Krylov retreated to Kemerovo, where in a long bout of insanity, the fallen general declared itself a reincarnation of long-dead King Rurik. Through all this, the people in and around Tomsk maintained their loyalty to the central government. President Pasternak suspended elections after the fall of Krasnoyarsk and declared a provisional government to stabilize the failing republic. Through all this, Pasternak and his advisors worked long hours to stabilize the food situation and ensure some semblance of normal life could return to the capital. Even after being diagnosed with cancer, he has not stopped President Pasternak from his Herculean struggle to prevent the collapse of the republic. Despite Pasternak's popularity, the people of Tomsk can see the provisional government is only able to manage the republic's decline, instead of turning things around. All hope is not lost, however, as the poet-president has begun work on the new foundation for the republic. Believing that distance from the people and failure to mobilize the masses into supporting the nation has doomed the old Central Siberian Republic, Pasternak has begun drafting a new constitution, one that will allow the republic to tap into a vast pool of intellectuals, artists, and scientists in Tomsk. The Siberian Athens, blessed with schools, universities, and salons, shall rely upon its four greatest political associations in order to achieve its revival. The conservative Decembrist, led by Russian medievalist Dmitry Nikhachev, the centralizing industrialists of the Bastillard Station and their leader, the avant-garde poet Danil Karms, composer Dmitry Shostakovich, utopian socialist of a humanist society, and the liberal technocrats of Andrei Sakharov's Modernist Salon. Citizens, the Republic is at a crossroads. Only through experimentation, courage, and dedication can the Central Siberian Republic Phoenix rise from its ashes. So the features: we can make use of Tomsk's unique rotating constitution to rebuild the Central Siberian Republic. We can explore four unique ideologies of Siberian Athens' attempts to build a better republic. And we can defeat separatists and traitors to unify Central Siberia and reclaim Bukharin's industrial plan. So, the regional info I was about to say, that was seemed pretty short. Central Siberia once stood defiantly as the Central Siberian Republic, the world's eyes on its capital Tomsk, as the young nation strove confidently into the future, holding most of Russia's remaining industrial industry. As a result of Bukharin's Central Siberian industrial plan, the republic was seen as the likeliest candidate for Russian unification. In the end, however, it was not German fascism, but the inability of Russians to work together that brought down the nation. Internal strife and a foreign invasion broke the back of the Central Siberian Republic, leading a myriad of successor states in its wake. To the south, the Federation of Novosibirsk and Provisional plots to make good use of its agricultural lands and heavy industry to reunite the region. Legendary ace pilot Pokrishkin and his junta have had a first-row seat to the collapse of the old republic. They plan not to repeat its mistakes. East of the Federation, one can find the Principality of Kemerovo, led by King Rurik II. The small, stateless blend of medieval Russia and modernity leaves many confused. Some write off Rourke II as a mad old fool. Others note that his well-ran state and well-trained army is likely to play an important part in future events. East of Kemerovo, another breakaway, a state led by a former CSR general, can be found in Krasnoyarsk. The shaky democracy's future is uncertain. While it's clear that Nikolai Andreev and his fellow mutineers will fight tooth and nail to maintain their independence. Meanwhile, to the Principality south, one can find the mountainous Karakoyam government of Oirotia. Cut off from Caesar's central government, the small nation of Altai people and Old Believer refugees have united in their effort to avoid bloodshed and oppression for their religious beliefs. East of Krasnoyarsk lies an expanse of villages and free cities. Imagining the area undefended, however, would be a dangerous mistake, for the Siberian Black Army zealously defends the region. Adherents of a particularly militarized variant of anarchism, the leadership of the Black Army plots its next move. All of Russia must be freed from statist oppression, beginning with Central Siberia. Finally, to the north, the rump of the Central Siberian Republic controlled the city of Tomsk and the vast Arctic expanses beyond. Many have written off the city of artists and thinkers as soft, decadent, and unable to contend with the loss of the majority of its army to secessions and rebellions. Nevertheless, President Pasternak has not given up. Nearing the end of his life, the president plans to entrust Rump CSR to a new political elite, one able to restore the Central Siberian Republic to greatness. Exhausted by the war for Russian Far East and civil conflicts for a few years, the rivalries of Central Siberia have begun to rout the various warlords from their fragile peace. There is only enough room in Central Siberia for one nation, one heir to Bukharin's industrial cornucopia. The Soviet-era's foundation and factories will cause yet more bloodshed as the unification wars begin. So we can unite the Central Siberian region and use it as a springboard to Russian reunification and manage our share of the Central Siberian industries, expanding it, and dealing with worker rights as the regional conflict heats up. Well, onwards, destiny lies ahead. So I'll go ahead and start my timer now that we're actually in the game. So our leader is Boris Pasternak. Boris Leonovich Pasternak is not a politician by trade, but rather a poet and a scholar. A Muscovite of Jewish ancestry, he quickly became renowned in the early days of the Soviet Union for his collections of poetry and translations of English and German classics. However, his early admiration for Lenin soon wore out, and he found himself scrambling to try and get friends and colleagues off blacklists and out of prisons. Pasternak, despite his reputation and suffering, never saw official censure or persecution himself, as many within the Politburo and NKVD viewed him as too passive and detached from reality to pose a political threat. As the Germans marched closer to Moscow, Pasternak and the remnants of Soviet intelligentsia fled to the east, with many taking refuge in the city of Tomsk. There he decided to draft a liberal constitution inspired by the undying Russian democratic thought and pledged to restore the freedom of expression that they craved under Soviet rule. Their cause gave birth to the Central Siberian Republic, which proved itself to be a worthy foe to the declining dictatorship of the far eastern Soviet states, but soon collapsed under its own weight, unable to cope with the ambitions of their own generals. Pasternak now rules a state dominated by intellectuals and artists, full of thinkers and poets. Although he and his colleagues give wonderful speeches, draft laws that are fascinating to read, and compose beautiful anthems, their only previous experience in holding office has been on university faculties. Whether Pasternak and his nation of dreamers will achieve anything or be content to sit in their ivory towers is a question that has yet to be fully determined. So Tomsk seems to me to be a very idyllic democracy. This is kind of a contrast to Komi, which is more of a cynical democracy that is pretty prone to falling apart as it ends up turning out. We'll see how that ends up going with Komi. But Tomsk seemed kind of interesting to me. It's not just how different an approach it really is. But hey, that's just my observations. For national focus, we have the legacy of the Siberian plan. So we lose a couple consumer good factories, a little bit of factory output, that's really about it. Our statelet lies in a unique region of Russia, the former area that Bukharin's and the Central Siberian Republic's grand industrial projects was sited. Securing machinery and infrastructure and rebuilding sections of the Siberian plan will provide great boons to our statelet. We also have a formation of salons, which gives some nice political power, some stability, and some research speed. Very nice. Especially seeing how, where we are. Tomsk's long tradition of academic research and artistic development has recently crystallized in a very unusual set of political organization, joining together social-historical ideas and the political economic theories with artistic ideals. The four great salons of Tomsk are a dizzying combination of political parties, military cliques, avant-garde artists, and social movements. While each salon roughly approximates a traditional political current, none of them are likely to have twins in any other democracy of the world. We also have the warlord of a city, which gives us some defense and recovery rate, but it hits its stability, though that kind of gets a little bit cancelled out. The Central Siberian Republic has been critically wounded by traitors and separatists. Now Pasternak's great democratic project has been pushed to its last retrenchment, and many doubt the Republic will see to the end of the 60s. All is not lost, however, for the remaining soldiers are determined, and led by the indefeasible Marshal Shaposhnikov. There we go. The Republic still lives, and its troops will face any opposition to save their homeland. And then finally, we have the Provisional Government. The successive disasters of separatism in Barnaul, war with Yagada's accursed Soviet remnants, and mutinies in the army have broken the back of the old Central Siberian government. Now an emergency provisional government led by Boris Pasternak tries to keep the Republic alive. While the population of Tomsk has been appreciative of the efforts of Pasternak's cabinet to fight these catastrophes, the haphazard provisional government is badly overextended. The state of emergency cannot go on forever. So yeah, we're going to have to figure that out soon. So let's do research real quick. We are behind on weapons, so I think we should focus on that first. And then from here, what do we want to focus on? I guess a bit more research speed would be nice. So let's get that going. We have some free civilian factories. Our infrastructure is kind of garbage, except in Tomsk. So let's build a civilian factory. It will be done by 63. That's fine. We'll do one there, and then we'll do one... We'll do another one there. Start building up our infrastructure. Our construction rate is not good. So national focus. Let's work on guns on our production real quick. Let's work on guns and artillery. We have the resources to do it, we just don't really have the industrial base, but we'll work on that slowly. So we have a year away from Woodland. When our provisional leader, Boris Pasternak, decided on his experiment to form a new society of intellectuals in the depths of Siberia, little did he know how far it would get. The Republic itself found itself as a bastion of democratic traditions as it became surrounded by tyrants, sometimes coated in red paint, sometimes not. Even the writer-president himself was soon overwhelmed by the task of guiding the nation through storm after storm. Now in his 70s, Pasternak is an old and fragile man, and at no point did he lose the respect of his followers, fellow artists or scientists. Being sick, he has enclosed himself in the presidential residence, writing, whether that is proposed laws or acts, or creative texts of his own. The people who have surrounded him are the very best, and have played an increasingly significant role in governing, but everyone knows that the days of our leader are numbered. When that time comes, we must be ready and continue his legacy. Well, let's do it. Real quick, let's get working on army stuff. Field Marshal, there we go, Matvey Shaposhnikov. A nice guy who stayed loyal to us. I'm not really sure how Central Russia's unification path really goes down, so I'll have to be careful with that. Who do we want to go with? I'm thinking Prudnikov is probably the best one. So I don't know. Novosibirsk, I know, doesn't have a tree, so I'm not too worried about putting my stuff on the border with them. Is Omsk considered part of Central Siberia or Western Siberia? I'll check for decisions. Alright, we have the I'll go over this real quick, I guess. The modern Decembrist society, like its ancient forebears, has long looked to the West for constitutional developments. Popularly elected legislatures are too easily swayed by populism and demagoguery, whereas appointed legislatures are callous and distant from common men. As such, the Decembrists have modeled the Duma on a bicameral model. A lower house elected by the people is able to propose laws that have been analyzed by an appointed upper house. The upper house's powers are constricted, and its members are some of the Republic's most respectful citizens from all political origins. So it sounds like, from what I understand, Canada's system, it's like that. You have, like, if they call it Parliament, I forget. Like, the body they elect, and then they have the House of Lords? Is that it? Or the Senate? I think the Canadian Senate is unelected, or appointed. I think that's how it works. I forget the names, but I think it roughly works like that. So we've the upper house and the lower house. For lower house, it looks like we have, we can check out the turnout, which is 43%. Damn, that's America levels of turnout. We can do a military bill category, which I'll eventually work on that. That's what I want to look at. It looks like Omsk is not considered part of Central Siberia, which is good, so we don't have to worry about them. I am marginally worried about, well, not marginally, somewhat worried about Kemerovo, because I know they actually have a apparently fairly overpowered tree. That's what I keep hearing on the subreddit. In fact, they have the only tree. Actually, no, the Black Army has a tree. Yeah, there we are. So we'll put our troops on the border of Kemerovo, because I'm fairly certain they can actually go ahead and go after us. Then we have Orotia and the old followers, who just can't really do much. I wouldn't be too worried about them anyway. Anyhow, let's go ahead and speed up. The president walked the halls of the presidential palace alone at this late hour. None walked with him, but his memories, echoes of a better time. Pale moonlight drifted through curtains of clouds in the sky, beaming through the hallway's grand windows. Once the Central Siberian Republic stood as one of the strongest successor states to the Soviet Union, inheriting a wealth of industry from Bukharin's Central Siberian plan, with the government of Tomsk set to work in rebuilding a new Russia. One where the citizens would be free to prosper and free to give their opinions on governance. Yet the Russian anarchy would not spare Central Siberia. Landlocked and surrounded by hostile governments and warlords, the beginning of a republic's end has come from secessionists in Novosibirsk. Then Yagada's accursed Soviet Union remnants launched its quixotic invasion. Both nations had been bled to death, its children weeping as war and famine came to the once peaceful land. In Central Siberia, various provisional governors rose against a fatally weakened central government. Rogue military officers had blamed the civilian government for their own failures to put out the anarchists and secessionists. One by one, provinces succeeded, until only Tomsk remained. The cold tugged at Pasternak's energy, almost as much as the damn disease did. The doctor's office, wooden and regal, felt a little heavier every day. But the president was not about to throw in the towel yet. The Caesar's old government had failed. Tomsk's current provisional government would not rule internally. Pasternak felt like he and his generation had gotten the republic in the mess. The least they could do was to do their best to get the next generation the torch. In the sleeping city surrounded the presidential palace, workers and poets, soldiers and politicians, and all of the republic's remaining children slept. All the president had to do, alone in his office as usual, was entrust the future to them. So much work to do, so little time. Pasternak chuckled. It won't be long before he had all the sleep he needed anyhow. To the new generation from failing hands. So we get a little bit of extra stability from that, which is nice. So this is... Moving on, this is a bit of a mechanic that, all of these, I think all the Russian warlords have. Raiding and looting. Raiding is sadly a part of daily life in Russia, and as much as we hate to admit it, it's one of the few means of survival. As such, we must be ready to organize raids into neighboring territories to gather food, equipment, and resources. So we each start off with one loot. And if we want to, we can raid others to try to take the loot, which I think we'll hold off on, but they can loot us if we're not careful. We can also scavenge for loot. And if we do that, we're able to choose one of these things to upgrade. Well, not upgrade immediately, but it'll start giving us an uptick in development status. And once we reach this point, it'll improve, and so we'll get less of these malices. It's a gradual process, but if we keep up with it, hopefully we'll keep moving on with it. We'll also have the, where is it? The warlord development. In the harsh lands of Russia, many of the warlord states that exist on the steppes have to resort to alternative means of developing their statelets. Through methods that wouldn't work in most formal civilized states, the warlord states must wield their political clout in the correct manner to ensure their small realms are capable of defeating their foes in the future. And then we also have the Legacy of the Siberian Plan. I'll read that after this. An entirely unproductive day. These had been a rarity in the President Pasternak's long and eventful life. Now, the toll of illness and age were making such days a much more common occurrence. Boris Pasternak had thus spent the day reminiscing in his old bedroom. He had emerged as one of the earliest leaders of the old Central Siberian Republic. Things had never been easy. Some wanted a continuation of Bukharin's Soviet Union. Others in the army preferred a much more authoritarian type of government, a permanent military emergency, until the nation could be reunited. Pasternak and his allies had appealed to the intellectuals of Tomsk, those who dreamed of a freer future. They had also appealed to the common man, promising the workers prosperity in return for their help. Now the president found himself in a much reduced republic, its democracy temporarily suspended by a provisional government, its economy in shambles. Time had made a mockery of these early plans. Pasternak had been surprised to see the public back his continuation as emergency provisional president. Had he not embodied everything that had gone wrong with CSR? And the people of Tomsk had somehow kept their trust in him. Even the workers dutifully continued their shifts in the great industrial works. After having backed the provisional government in a referendum, the food situation was not excellent, but it was at least stable. Perhaps none among the poorer elite wished to chance another leader in these most dangerous times. General Shostakovich has ensured the loyalty of the rump army to civilian institutions. The president felt a bit humbled by the trust shown to him. He also knew his people expected much in return. This did not worry him. Why did I click that? It was too early. God damn it. I'm sure it was nice. Anyway. The provisional government, I feel stupid now, located in the only major city we still have control over, was formed by a circle of the president's closest friends and associates. Only the most loyal, who in many cases have even followed him his journey eastward back in the days of war, were allowed to participate. The provisional government, in its years in power, has thankfully managed to stay above the bickering between different factions and Salons, paving the way to a constitution and true democracy. With his inevitable passing coming closer and closer, Pasternak has made his wish clear for the Republic. The government's goal has been fulfilled, and a smooth transition to the intended system is ensured. Thus, the next step is elections, where the voices of the people will be heard. It's time to finally begin the process of disbanding this authority. There we go. Anyway, where was I? Right. Though much of Russia is shattered and bombed up by the ravages of war, our realm hosts the remnants of an extraordinary project, started by Bukharin and escalated by the Central Siberian Republic at the peak of its power. The Siberian Plan was a comprehensive initiative to lay the infrastructure for the transformation of Siberia into the largest and most well-orchestrated industrial era on the planet. While the plan was unable to reach its full potential, much of the structure remains and can be put to use to better our industry. However, due to the unique nature of our region and the heavy industrialization of our territory, we must watch our industrial workers closely to ensure that disconnect does not build within the population. Current worker discontent is low, so we don't have to worry about that quite yet. Decisions available. So we can scavenge for loot right now. We can also propose military programs, but we can do that later. Let's scavenge for loot now. And hope that they don't decide to raid us. That's my main worry. Maybe not my main worry, but one of the big worries. Because I like to get working on improving this stuff. Oh, the Reich has landed on the moon. Another glass of vodka, the old man offered. Mixlov accepted with a nod. He had long given He had long given up encouraging his friend and mentor to quit drinking. It always saddened him to see the old composer reduced in health. No one was spared by time after all. Both friends toasted to their homes in the West, to the streets of St. Petersburg, to the alleyways of Warsaw. Both lost over years, fascist jackboots keeping them drowning in the ebbs of time, till even memories were dissolved. The two friends did not particularly enjoy musing on painful memories. Yet the fall of Europe cast for shadows on both musicians' lives. To this tragedy, Dmitry Shostakovich could find echo in the most recent catastrophe of the destruction of the Central Siberian Republic, a nation of hope and progress crushed by militarism, its corpse embalmed by faceless bureaucrats and kept on display. What is there to be done, S. Mixlov? I'm probably butchering that. I'm probably butchering most of his pronunciation, so I apologize ahead of time when I inevitably get them wrong. His mentor gazed into the distance, absent-mindedly pushing back up on his glasses. Finally, the old composer spoke. I've been discussing with fellows of the Humanist Salon who will run for presidency. Anticipating his friend's objection, Shostakovich lifted his hand. Ironic, isn't it? Even as a poor Pasternak has a foot in the tomb, I stand in line behind him with my own poor health. Yet something must be done. The president is a good man. His call for election is the right one. I'm afraid, Mixlov, so many candidates running, none of them understand why the old republic failed. Everyone has solutions to be implemented top-down, orders and instructions for poor workers. But who will listen? Who will cherish the common man, the elite's so-called equals, their brothers and sisters? The old CSR didn't listen to the men in Altai, in Novosibirsk, to the anarchists, to the poor and the hungry. I'd just like to try to do something about it, Mixlov. After a life of just being a victim of events, The younger musician put his hand on his mentor's. It's never too late to try, Dmitri. Now how about we honor this bottle final time for the day? The old man smiled, nodded. They drank to the future, for once. There we go. So we're going to end the provisional government. All eyes was turned to him when he entered the room. Concern, sorrow, pity, a mixture of emotions was evident in the assembled visages. The president was used to seeing the progression of his cancer on the faces of those he did not meet often. The men were from a range of backgrounds, industrials, academics, bureaucrats of the next provisional government. A few outsiders stood awkwardly next to General Shaposhnikov. The trusty general had followed Pasternak's directives. The president nodded gratefully at his old friend. The general saluted crisply. Pasternak began speaking. Gentlemen, my time is probably more limited than yours even. A few awkward laughs. Pasternak continued. I gathered you today to express my thoughts on the provisional government. I think none of us are particularly satisfied with its progress. A few nods of assent. What was supposed to be a temporary measure to trim the old apparatus of CSR, recalibrate our economy, and tend to our diminished army is now stretched into months and then years of sluggish progress. Political opposition has rightfully pointed out that without elections, our legitimacy is ever dwindling. Pasternak sat at his chair and addressed his attention to the outsiders. Men of the Salon, all, and not shy about partigating their thoughts on the provisional government. Good. I've invited these gentlemen from so-called Decembrist, Bastillard, Humanist, and Modernist societies. Many good ideas have been discussed in the city salons over the past few months. I've followed the renewal of the capital's cultural and political scene with much interest. I believe it is now time to end the provisional government. A murmur threatened to boil into the debate. Pasternak rose a hand to silence it. This will be done with good order, and a suitable new constitution will be implemented. Gentlemen, both secessionists and rebels have shown more daring than us, and have seized the moment. I believe it is time to do some mobilization of our own, and tap into the greatest minds of the Republic to seed and door into the next generations. I would like to hear the assembled men in this room detail what remains to be done before new elections can be called. Let's begin with you, General Shaposhnikov. From many voices, a consensus will soon emerge. So I didn't skip that one. Alright, the first draft. Even though he knows that his provisional rule shall not last longer, our president is willing to do anything for democracy he has built in Central Siberia. From his lavishly decorated house, and with the help of advisors, he has begun writing the foundation of a document to lead the country into the future. That document is the Constitution. Constitution is one of the utmost importance for a state such as ours. Pasternak has only been left with one job to do, and that's to show the intellectuals and the Salons the path to their dream through a simple manuscript. He has based it on everything from the laws and ideals of short-lived Republican Russia to the constitutions of a Western world. Freedoms and liberties in expression and religion shall be protected, while the people will elect their representatives. It's more than certain that any successor to him will take Pasternak's first draft and sculpt it to a proper constitution for the years to come. That works. We'll get some modernist, humanist, and bastard lower support, and we'll continue on. Let's go ahead and check the Duma. Actually, we're gonna be ready to Okay, so it looks like we'll be able to propose expansion instead of just doing it, which is interesting. We can propose military programs soon. In fact, once we get 15 PP, we'll be good to go. Let's go and do that. We'll propose our army modernization project to the Duma. Let's do it. We have 60 days until that happens. It looks like we have to have a majority in the upper and lower houses. Okay. First draft. Hitler names Bormann his successor. Let's suspend the provisional government. It is now time. The stage is set for a new era of Russian democracy, or rather, perhaps a stage is set for the final death of the Central Siberian Republic. President Pasternak is set to announce to the citizens of Tomsk the delusion of the provisional government. After shepherding us through years of crisis and stabilizing the situation, it is a little sad to see the last remnants of the Central Siberian Republic go. But as democracy is a process that sees endless death and rebirth of political power, so must the provisional government go for something else to take its place. A few days away from being able to put our loot to something. Okay, which one am I starting with? I'll do this one. Reams of paper were filling up every possible surface of a presidential office. Once in a while, bemused secretaries came in to stabilize the tottering piles of paper. Law and history books were strewn about, opened at seemingly random pages. In the middle of it all was the president, busy at work. It was no easy feat to draft a constitution, even with dozens of legal advisors who'd been given their own sections to work on. Harder still was what Pasternak had in mind, a beautiful, breathing thing, in which all would see the republic they envisaged. Pasternak's constitution would end the provisional government and begin a new era in the republic, an era of experimentation, an era of wild and crazy ideas. Pasternak's task was to avoid placing himself in the center stage. His duty was to build a theater where all sorts of players might enter and leave the republic's political sphere, bringing in their own ideas and visions of the future. People would add on to the constitution and remove some things, yet in it would live a spirit, a spark of Pasternak's own dreams and failed ambitions. On and on the work went. Occasionally a lawyer came to discuss. In the afternoon, a nurse administered the president his medication for the day. Work progressed at a good pace. Every few days, a compilation of recent ideas and changes was sent to advisors, both within and without the provisional government. The president worked feverishly, a maddening maestro, directing a raucous orchestra to simple and enjoyable harmonics. All the world's a stage. In the Hall of Mirrors, Nikolai entered his favorite bar after a long shift. Working on the foundry was hard work, grueling work. The pay, however, was quite good. All the better to provide for his family. The bar's usual layout was much changed that evening. Tables and chairs had been arranged in a wide circle around a makeshift podium of bar stools. On it stood a gaunt figure of a man. The skeletal individual, dressed as an English dandy, recited line after line of lewd poetry, a beer mug in one hand and a calabash pipe in the other. The bar's habitual roars with laughter and hollered of a strange figure. When the poet ended his recitation, cheers and whistles crowded him in the bar. One of the men turned towards the door and noticed the confused Nikolai. "Oi, Kolya! Look what we got here, an actual presidential candidate." The emancipated poet turned to face the newcomer, bowed towards him, the makeshift barstool podium shaking. Daniil Karms, author, poet, not so humble representative of the Trinity Group for Culture and Industry, known to all as the Bastillard Club, at your service. Nikolai, of course, knew the author, most well known for his children's books, as well as his charity work to teach literacy. An eccentric man, nowadays a front for the elitist anti-worker Bastillard society. What brings politics here, poet? Thought you and the Bastillards had little wish to listen to the people. Karms nodded, climbed down from the podium to walk towards Nikolai. Of course. I'm an honest man. Why would I run on a campaign of lies? As a president, I'd want a strong republic, able to smash those fuckers in Novosibirsk and provide work and prosperity for all of us. Of course, every party claims that, but ours claims that they care about the workers, don't they? Only the Bastillards are honest in their indifference. A chorus of laughter. A beer made its way to Nikolai, who cheered with a strange politician. Perhaps the elections this year would provide entertainment, at least. A man of the people? Interesting fella. Not quite sure which path I want to go down. I'll wait until I hear all of them go. I think I have to. I'll move my mouse on the Duma Members Council to check Salon support. Open district map. Mouse on the Duma members counter. Oh, there we go. Okay. I see now. President Pasternak stood in front of the Cathedral of the Epiphany, alone on its podium. The cathedral had seen better days, as had their president, the assembled crowd thought. Even so, both stood proudly and domineering Lenin Square. More and more men and women crowded into the plaza, lured by the end of the workday to see the president in what all seemed to be one of his final public oratories. Citizens, friends, I come to you personally to announce the end of the Provisional government. In the aftermath of great calamities that fell on the Republic, you came forward and granted us a request for an emergency Provisional government. With this vote of confidence in hand, the government and I blindly stumbled forward, like drunks holding on to a train ticket. Afeared of losing it, and being unable to reach our destination, I now realize that our greatest mistake was that we tried to shoulder on this burden of riding the ship of a state all on our own. For this great arrogance, this government has found itself unable to leave a dark valley in which it erred for the last few years, unable to lead its people to a better place. The Provisional government must end, and in its place the people must take up their role, act onto the power granted to them by our republic. 1,000, a million assembled candles will unite to illuminate our paths. Citizens, I simply ask for your forgiveness, and I thank you for your years of support. I will fear no evil. So yeah, that's about it for now, folks. Thank you for watching. As always, if you like this video, go ahead and leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you want to see more of this sort of content in the future, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I do main series videos like this every weekday, and I do random stuff on Saturdays. So if you want to check any of that out, go ahead and do that in the link below. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Even hit the notification bell if you're feeling a little fancy. If you want to send a few bucks my way, if you're so inclined, I have a Patreon link below you can check out. I don't make any money off this because I don't have the required subs for AdSense yet, but so Patreon's the only way right now I can make money. I recently relaunched it, made sure it's good to go. So if you want to check that out, please do. If you can't or you don't want to, you know what, fair enough, but I'd appreciate it if you at least would consider the thought. Also, I have a Discord if you want to join with that. We can chat, play games, and just socialize and have fun in general. I also have a Twitch channel, which I use to sometimes hop on and record series live with you guys. We talk, talk, chat, shoot for shit, do whatever. So yeah, that's about it for now, folks. My name has been DB333, and thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.